everyone, welcome back to episode 12 of Unfailing Yourself. We are officially 5 months in, heading into the 6th month of the year. It's so crazy to think about just how much time is flying. And so I thought, a better way to do today's episode than to do a little bit of a recap. I feel like sometimes we feel the need to usually do this at the end of the year, at the end of the month, at the end of, just at the end of the new week. And I don't know, but most of the time for me, it's usually this disappointing thing when you are trying to do your New Year's resolution and you kind of recap on all of the things that you didn't achieve. And then I think about it now and I'm like, well, the person who I was at the beginning of the year and the person I am right now is not the same person, right? And so, I'm still Cheryl, of course, but life is just a little bit different. You go through many things, and so I feel like it's important for us to sometimes just recap and to check where you are in your life right now, and if those goals that you set for yourself still align with where you are and the things that you are going through at the moment. So let's get into it a little bit more. I've taken the past few weeks, or 3 weeks to be exact, to myself to kind of just reflect and to ponder where I'm at. It's been a bit of a roller coaster of emotions, but I think that sometimes also just debriefing and rechecking in with yourself is important to kind of just see where it is that you are, what are some of the things that are impacting you, and why they are, and kind of just tackle a way to go forward. And so with that being said, I've realized quite a few things. And one of the prominent things were just kind of doing the same thing and then expecting a different result. And then the second thing was, one of the major things that I realized was just how much I win my life. Win my life. And man, it's such a crutch. I think it's something that probably a lot of us do that we don't even realize that we are doing. And it's horrible, man. Like I hate that I do it. I hate that I've been doing it. And it's just been such a frustrating thing to realize how much of an impact that it has had on my life so far. How many of us plan our lives in accordance to, when I am skinnier, I will post more pictures. When I am in a better job position, I'll plan more and do more. When I have my hair done, I'll upload things. When. And I know for a fact that this is something that I have done for a very long time, for many things in my life. And it becomes so conditional that we become so accustomed to life on the basis that when everything is in order and when everything first aligns, that's when we will do what we need to do. And I know for a fact that I say this at least on the daily, and then half the time, or most of the things that I do end up saying, I don't do it. I'm always just waiting for when is going to happen. Let's get a little bit more personal. I came home after being in China for 2 years, and thinking back on it now, I can't believe that it's even been 2 years. And it had been an interesting journey. I look back at it now and I'm like, wow, I did that. Like, damn, I overcame that. Like, okay, girl, you achieved that. And of course, life is not the same right now. There are obviously a lot of things that have changed and things are different. And of course, it's been an adjustment to say the least. I knew that going to China was a temporary move to set myself up for the goals that I had achieved for myself or wanted to achieve for myself. And it was a stepping stone or a stepping block to add to where I wanted to be. And so you put in the work, you go through the motions, and you go through the struggles, the ups and the downs, and you kind of just get used to saying, or I have kind of gotten used to saying that I will celebrate when I know for certain that things are being put in place. When I know that I have finally achieved it, I'll tell people about my journey. When I know for a fact that it was all worth it and the plans that I set for myself are actually in motion, I'll share it. And and that's just kind of how the dynamic has gone. And so fast forward to today, I'm like, okay, well, what thought provoking message are we going to share today? What am I going to share with everybody, and what am I going to tell people to kind of add to unveiling themselves? And my brain immediately says, well, you took your 3 weeks off to kind of go through whatever it is that you were going through, to kind of deal with your emotions. So how about you start telling people how you've been slacking on your own advice? Tell them how you haven't cherished even the little or the major victories. God damn! And then my brain also says like, okay girl, we are here to unveil ourselves, right? And so let's do that. About 3 months ago, I have gotten some pretty good news. Great news, in fact, life-altering news, that the people in my lives would know that this is something that I have wanted for the longest time. It's something that I have fought for, cried for, prayed for, begged for, and worked really hard for. And it's something that I think I also put on the back burner for a little bit because it just wasn't panning out the way I needed it to. And so though it has been, I think a part of me is still in a bit of disbelief just thinking about it. And so I am embarking on my journey to becoming a clinical psychiatrist. Good on me. And just saying it out loud and knowing that it's gonna go on YouTube, my brain genuinely can't comprehend it. And it's so major, it's so big, and I'm like, I don't think that I've even realized yet just how something that you've prayed for such a long time, and something that has been hitting against brick walls for such a long time, and now that it's finally here, you would think that I would have celebrated it. It's the one thing that I prayed so hard for, and I got it finally, and no celebration, nada. And 3 months in, I'm like, wait, why haven't I celebrated this? And it's because I winged it. I said, for sure, when I know for sure that these people haven't made a mistake, then I'll celebrate. When I know for a fact that I am getting into it and I know something about it, just in case somebody asks me, then I'll, tell people about it. When I feel like I've settled, when I feel like I know, when. And 3 months later, I'm like, Shah, why aren't you making this as a big deal as it is? And my brain immediately just goes back to the fact that we spend so much time fixating on all the things that go wrong. And so your mind's constantly in fight mode, like you're ready to tackle the next problem. I'm used to the struggle. I know for a fact that things need to first be a struggle before it gets to a victory. And because you're in such fight mode all of the time, your body doesn't know how to go into victory mode. And I'm like, how crazy is that? Why is it that we spend so much of our time getting prepped for the next battle that we don't even realize the times when we are victorious, when we are in winning mode, or when we have won the little battle that we have. And so how crazy is it that we allow ourselves to wait for a certain point in our lives before we get to celebrate? I mean, we need to wait for the start of the new year before we reflect on the goals that we set for ourselves and the little things that we have achieved. And we're constantly changing and evolving. And so this unrealistic expectation that we have with winning our lives steals so much from our journey. And I'm thinking to myself, I can't get that moment back when I read the news and I should have celebrated. And of course, you don't want to fixate on the past. You don't want to live in what you should have done. But I think looking back on it now, I'm like, I should celebrate. The same way that I wallow on all of the things that go wrong, I need to equally put as much energy when things go right or when things do happen for me. And so my advice to us, and especially myself, is to live by my own mantra and to cherish the little victories. I think it's important for us to remember that life has this way of surprising us with goodness, and that we get to bask in those happy moments. The whole point of my channel is ensuring that we unveil ourselves, and like I've said many a time, it doesn't happen in one setting. We are constantly changing and evolving, and there are a lot of things that we have to learn about ourselves or unlearn about ourselves. And I think the biggest thing that I have taken from these 3 weeks, and I think this year as a whole, is to cherish life, to be living in the moment. Life is gonna happen. There are struggles that we are going to face, and it's important for us to also remember that goodness, we deserve good things, and we deserve to celebrate those happy moments in our lives. And so the second thing that I want us to take note of is that life is gonna happen, whether we want it to or not, whether we like it or not. Challenges and struggles are bound to happen. They suck, of course, 100%. I think it's something that if we could do without, we would much rather not have it. And there are going to be times in our lives where it just all becomes too much. It hurts and it feels endless. And you're probably thinking, Cheryl, can you get to the good part? And let's be honest, it's true. That's just how life is. But life is also full of surprises. It is filled with goodness, with victories. It's filled with little pockets of moments that are happy. And it's important for us to relish in those happiness, to take all of those little moments and to celebrate them, to be as equally happy about those good moments in our lives. Sorry. To be as equally happy about those moments as we would be when we are fixating on the bad. And the fact that we also should just realize that life is about little moments that come together and it makes up our journey. And so it's important for us to learn and to enjoy the process of it. So yeah, that's all for today's episode. Remember that life is what we make it, and let's remember to celebrate. That's right, the little victories. And so with that being said, I am forced to admit that I have not taken my advice with cherishing the little victories. But it's also something that I'm glad happened because, again, it's part of why this channel is, and that's unfailing ourselves. I think sometimes we also forget to realize that there are many things in our lives that we have gotten ourselves accustomed to, and it doesn't just take one thing to get rid of. It takes work, it takes effort, it takes daily sacrifice and commitment. And so this is something that I am actively working on. It's something that I think is important for us to remember. I've said it before and I'll probably say it a few more times, but we really only have this one life. And so I would rather know that yes, there are things that I need to unlearn and relearn and unveil myself about, but there are also things that we have to acknowledge, and it's important to admit when we do have shortcomings and shortfalls, but to not fixate on it, to remember that we are a work in progress. I am a work in progress. And so acknowledging that this is something that I did not do, and now knowing that I am consciously going to work on it is important. And with that being said, also, I'm really happy that I get to share that good news with you guys and to take you along on this journey with me. It is really exciting to think about. It's very overwhelming sometimes, but just having to say that I get to be a future clinical psychiatrist still sounds so weird in my mouth, but I know that it's comforting knowing that I get to be of a source to people and to myself. And so yeah, I think it's important. I've said the word important quite a few times, but it really is important for us to celebrate life. And so that's all for today's episode. And so with that being said, here's to unlearning, relearning, and unfailing yourself. Bye.